So one area of overlap that I see between Agile and the ITIL framework is in the area of continual service improvement. So this is the fifth phase of the ITIL lifecycle. It focuses on introducing service management improvements. So again, just like Agile is focused on introducing new software or improved software or updates into the live environment as quickly as possible, in continual service improvement, we're focused on introducing improvements to our overall process. Both Agile and continual service improvement have at their core or their basis this same plan, do, check, act, or Deming cycle. So both of these ideas are rooted in going back to the 50s and 60s, and a lot of the improvements that were made to manufacturing, especially by Toyota, which is the example that's most often cited, and W. Edwards Deming, and just really focusing on how we can not just do a large waterfall project, have everything, all these intricate requirements determined up front, and then working a long time, and then finally trying to implement something at the end where, you know, we might be 18 months or more out from where we started, and the environment has changed, our requirements have changed, and the output is nothing like what we need now. So using the Deming cycle as the core of both Agile and our CSI model, we can see that there is already this built-in process of planning, implementing, reporting or checking, and then making these continual improvements. So looking at it in a different way, the actual CSI model within the ITIL framework is, what is the vision? Where are we now? Where do we want to be? What are our targets? What is our improvement plan? How do we get there? Did we get there? So how do we verify that we've actually made progress? And how do we keep the momentum going? Again, this cycle or iterative process is really tied directly into the Agile methodologies. So I started to write down some suggestions for implementation order, and then I remembered usually what I tell my customers is, because we will get this question a lot, is if we are going to implement ITIL within, or the ITIL framework within our organization and try to employ these processes, which one should we do first? And kind of the knee-jerk answer is, well, you start with incident management, and then, but the correct answer should actually be, well, it depends. And it really depends on your organization and what the needs of your organization are. So that is something that we often do with our customers, is to provide guidance up front. We conduct workshops, we have simulation exercises, and a number of different types of practices that we use to help our customers understand what would provide them with the most value. What services really need to be improved within their organization. They may be focused on incident management, but you know, they're already doing a pretty good job of the break fix thing. What they really need to focus on is, for example, change management, because although they're able to fix things that are broken, more things are breaking because there are unapproved changes being introduced into the live operational environment. So it may be that you start with change management. It used to be that you did the first 4, incident, problem, change, and then configuration management. But really more and more we're seeing customers start with either change management or a number of other different areas of focus. And again, it just depends on the needs of your organization. I see that I've had another question pop up here. Our company is starting to use Agile, but finding challenges with resource allocation with cross-functional resource needs and cannot be 100% allocated to a project using Agile. Let's see here. I don't know if this is related. I think it's related to the question above it. Where does testing fit in? So I would say that testing fits in. There's a couple different places where testing fits in. And I would say that testing fits in, and it can be sometimes difficult, but ideally testing will fit in each sprint during the review. So that's when you make sure you have everything ready for for your functional testing. And then certainly before the release, you would want to conduct user acceptance testing. Regarding challenges with resource allocation, that it would probably take a little bit more investigation to give you a good answer for that. I think that's something that a lot of organizations certainly struggle with, but with allocating resources, it may just be a matter of making sure that the organization understands if you're doing a project plan, for example, and there are templates for Agile project plans. It might seem like kind of an oxymoron, but project managers still need to have some type of project plan, even if we're supposed to be lean and Agile. And in those project plans, you do need to make sure that you're allocating time for testing, and that when resources are allocated, that it's understood that there is going to be time set aside for remediation of issues that come up during testing. I know that's certainly something that we try to do in our projects, is make sure that we have time for remediation. There's another question here. Do we need to implement all 26 processes? I guess going back to the ITIL version 3 processes, I would say short answer is no. There is not really an absolute need to implement all 26 processes. Again, the answer is it depends on your organization. For larger organizations, I think there certainly would need to be more oversight, especially for organizations that may be publicly traded and under the rules of Sarbanes-Oxley. There are a lot of needs for control of data. That's where change management comes into play a lot of times. So when Sarbanes-Oxley was first being rolled out, that's when we saw a lot of organizations needing to incorporate change management into their IT service management structure, both in their processes certainly, and then also subsequently in the software and their automation piece. So I'm going to close my questions here. So again, just to recap, proposed implementation order really depends on the needs of your organization. You need to keep the lights on, which is why incident usually comes first, because that's the break-fix component of it. Incident management is all about restoring service to your end users. And after that, then it really is up to the needs of the organization. You may move forward with service level management if you have concerns about customer satisfaction. You may employ service request management if you really want to automate some of the request fulfillment. If you have a lot of different Word documents out there that people are trying to fill out to requisition new laptops and so on, maybe you want to automate your service requests. That kind of goes hand in hand with the self-service interface. And then I mentioned some of the needs that you may have around change management. But in looking at how you roll these processes out, it can be a lengthy process to roll out, say, change management. I know customers who have spent months just on a single process. But the more that you can do iteratively, meaning first you may start and look at writing things down on sticky notes. And then you may move on to, from there, how can we automate this using our footprints or remedy force system or our remedy system. But really, it is worthwhile to do that upfront discovery just to set the team on the right path, but then having the flexibility as you're going through to make corrections and take corrective action where needed. So wrapping up here, I would say that it's not Agile versus ITIL, but instead, I think that Agile can be a useful tool or a useful methodology to help you with your implementation of the ITIL framework. Both methodologies are based on the Deming cycle, so they have that in common. And Agile can also help to simplify the processes themselves. So I mentioned before how organizations are using Agile to look at their change and release processes and seeing how those can be simplified, how you can work on releases in sprints as opposed to the waterfall method where you have all of your requirements up front and then a year later try to deliver software that matches those requirements, which likely have changed in line with the changes to the business and the overall business environment.